welcome to another episode of She-Fi. This week we're going to be talking about Jessica Jones. It's based on the Marvel Comics, and it is a Netflix original.
He's back. He's coming for me.
Let's start now.
No!
Jessica, I'm the only one who matches you. And we're inevitable.
Oh my God. God didn't do this. The devil did. And I'm gonna find him.
So we're going to start off by talking about how Jessica Jones is a little bit different than some of the other Marvel superheroes out there. One thing, she doesn't wear a cape, and she doesn't have some kind of fancy, snazzy superhero name, like Captain Marvel or the Hulk. She's just Jessica.
Yeah.
Which I think is something pretty cool, that she's just kind of humble,
Yeah, I like that a lot too. And she used to be a superhero, and her name was Jewel, but she kind of found out that path wasn't really right for her. And so now she's still, there's a point where she says something along the lines of, I'm not hiding my superpowers, but I'm not advertising them either. And so she still uses her powers to help people, but just sort of as herself, and not as like a flashy superhero, which is really different from what we see with other superhero shows. It's very cool.
It starts out like a regular PI investigation kind of show,
Yeah.
but with a side of superpowers here and there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
they don't-
it's almost like a noir kind of detective show, especially in the beginning, where she just happens to have superpowers.
You a PI?
I'm just trying to make a living, booze costs money.
Another thing I liked a lot about this show is how so many of the characters are women.
All the single ladies, all the single ladies.
The majority of the cast is women. There are some great male characters too, but there are definitely more women. And I like it because it's not the kind of show, it's not like a romantic comedy or something that's supposed to be like a girly show.
Chill. Marvel gets women.
And they're all really unique characters and all really interesting in different ways.
Yeah, Jessica Jones is kind of like a hard, gritty, edgy type of show. It's like the scenes are very dark. Jessica Jones is a kind of a profane, vulgar mouth, hard drinking woman. And she considers herself an asshole, but, in a deeper layer of her, she's actually got a really big heart. So,
Yeah.
one of my favorite characters, I would say, and not because this is a good person, but because I really love how they created this very kind of conflicted character in Jerry Hogarth. She's kind of one of those very shady types that don't always tell the truth, that do whatever they can to make a lot of money, that look out for themselves first,
Yeah.
But what I like about Jerry Hogarth is that she's kind of this morally corrupt character in a lot of different ways. But when it comes down to it, sometimes she'll just surprise you. Like at the very end, after Jessica was able to kill the villain of the show, Kilgrave, the police wanted to arrest her for murdering a man. And Jerry Hogarth comes as her lawyer and just like smooths things over for her.
Yeah, so she definitely, she's kind of morally sketchy throughout, but she comes through for Jessica at the end. And another thing I like about Hogarth is that in the comics, her character is actually a man, so it's a really cool, interesting choice that they decided to make her a woman. The other female character I liked a lot was Trish, who's sort of Jessica's adoptive sister and best friend. And she's, most of the characters, as we've been saying, are kind of gritty and do some sort of questionable things, but then sort of some redemptive things too. Trish is pretty much purely good throughout. And it's interesting to see how she kind of compares to Jessica, I think, because Jessica, even though she really is a hero, doesn't necessarily see herself as a hero because she doesn't have a costume and because she's not flashy about it. She doesn't necessarily think of herself as that. Whereas Trish really kind of aspires to be a hero and even says at one point that she wants to save the world, and really sort of fits this stereotypical idea of what a superhero would be. Like, she reminds you a lot of Captain Marvel or even of Supergirl or someone like that. She's just very upright and very, very good all the time. So that's, but even though the two of them are so different, they still just really get each other and really connect as friends. And so it's an interesting dynamic between the two of them.
We will still be friends forever.
So lately, there's a lot of shows coming out with strong female characters and the theme of female empowerment, you know, like Supergirl and Hunger Games, which is really cool. But I think that Jessica Jones also has an aspect of talking about in kind of more serious issues. As we know, it's a gritty show, so I'm not surprised, but they're talking about the issue of Jessica is a survivor of trauma, of rape, and but she's not a victim.
Yeah.
She's definitely not a victim. She's actually, in fact, the only one that can stop her attacker and save everyone from any harm that he's causing other people.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like the way that they portrayed that, because they didn't gloss over how traumatizing it was for her. Especially earlier in the season, we see her struggling with everything that she went through with Kilgrave, and struggling, I guess, really to sort of move on from the rape and from the mind control. At the same time, she really rises to the occasion and ultimately defeats Kilgrave. So it's great to see that she's able to be so strong and to rise above it, despite the fact that it really was such a difficult experience for her. I think they portrayed it really well. So like with any Marvel show or movie, it's always fun and interesting to see how they tie into one another and into the Marvel Universe. And Jessica Jones ties into the Marvel Universe in a lot of ways. One of the most interesting is Luke Cage, who in the comics eventually becomes Jessica's husband, and he's going to get his own spin-off series on Netflix also. And we're expecting some tie-ins there, and tie-ins with both of those shows and Daredevil, so that'll all be exciting to see.
So it's also pretty cool that there's a cameo appearance by Rosario Dawson's character.
Yeah, that was super exciting.
Super exciting. She plays Nurse Claire Temple. So, and I guess she goes on to become a nurse that tends to actually people with superhuman abilities.
So Claire is a pretty significant character in Daredevil, and so it's really exciting to see her showing up in Jessica Jones as well.
Also is Simpson's character. He plays another super character known as Nuke. So,
yeah, and speaking of Daredevil crossovers, in the comics, at one point, Kingpin sort of sends Nuke to go after Daredevil. So interesting to see if they're going to be playing up that angle in either Jessica Jones or Daredevil moving forward. It'll all be really cool to see how that unfolds.
So Kilgrave was played by David Tennant. I think everyone probably knows David Tennant from Doctor Who. So it's interesting to see him in a less than heroic role. This time he's playing the villain, Kilgrave, the guy that has the power, and he's a very heinous, very bad guy. You know, and the funny thing is, I had read this article that some of the Whovians found it hard to watch Jessica Jones because now it's really hard for them to see Doctor Who. They're still seeing him as Doctor Who. Now it's hard for them to watch Doctor Who and not see him as Kilgrave. So,
It's funny. I have that same experience with Star Trek, trying to watch Zachary Quinto as Spock. And I can't think of him. I only can think of him in like his evil roles in Heroes and in American Horror Story. And I have so much trouble seeing him as Spock. Well, that's it for this episode of She-Fi. Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe to our channel, and we will see you next time.
see you next
Bye.
time. Bye.